As of this time, at this time, we do not have anyone in custody. The investigation is underway. We have a number of resources engaged in that investigation, as well as ensuring the safety of all mall goers and pedestrians. At the bottom of the hill is where we have begun to stage the mall goers in order to get them back to their vehicles. We had to render both the mall as well as the parking lots safe. At this time, we are only getting our pedestrians and the mall goers back to their vehicles, giving them the opportunity to leave the mall at that point. 8 people have been transported to the local hospitals. At this time, there does not appear to be anything other than minor injuries, and mainly due to folk trying to leave the mall, caught up in the rush of everyone else running out of the mall. The ages of those folk transported have been between the ages of 10 and 70. We have a number of resources in terms of government on site, both federal, state, as well as local, EMS as well. Clearly, the heat is a problem today, so we have tried to make sure that we could keep everyone as cool as possible given the climate today. With the help of both hotels here, the Marriott as well as the Embassy Suite, we've been able to have some of the folk inside the hotel. Go Raleigh has provided a number of buses so that we can get many of the folk just cool, given the climate as well. I want to thank everyone who has provided assistance in this regard in ensuring the safety of our citizens and the mall goers. And I also want to thank those who were caught up in all of this activity for their patience, given the heat, given the circumstances, and the concerns that everyone has at this point. We have not actually determined that there was a shooter at this point, and we do not have anyone in custody either. If you have any questions regarding medical, we do have someone here from EMS, Wake County EMS, who is able to assist. We have had the FBI, SBI, Wake County Sheriff's, EMS, Fire on scene as well. We are getting assistance from the State Highway Patrol as well as Wake County Sheriff's in order to help handle some of the calls throughout our city, as a number of our resources have been deployed out here at this particular location as well. Investigation is ongoing.
Anyone hit by a gunshot?
No.
Are you actively looking for suspects?
We are actively investigating the case, and that would include the possibility of suspects, whether it's gunshots or any other incident that caused what happened today at the mall.
Are you looking for multiple suspects?
We don't know at this time.
This is a massive crime scene at this point. There are multiple stores. How difficult is it right now to work this out?
Well, you answered your own question in essence. When you've got a number of people, this day the mall was quite full. But we have practiced and we have trained in regards to situations like this. So we respond with our resources, thus knowing what other resources are available on both the federal, state, and local levels. And that's what we have to deploy in a situation like that.
Thus far, have you been able to find any shell casings?
No.
By when will the mall be clear, and how do you determine when you can actually clear the mall for people to go back in, shop, reopen their stores?
That is a lengthy process, and the safety of all, as I mentioned in the very beginning, who are at the mall today is the most important piece of all of this. So until we can render everything safe, no one goes back into the mall.
Any idea when the mall might reopen?
Until we can render safety for all, no one goes back into the mall.
Is there a possibility there might have been firecrackers instead of a gun?
We're looking at all possibilities. We're not sure at this time. People heard the popping sound. Some thought it was a gunshot, and we have to evaluate all possibilities, look at any potential leads, evaluate the 911 calls that were made, and follow up with that investigation with a number of the law enforcement resources that we have also.
There are a couple of outlets reporting that...
Did anybody report seeing a gun when you got home?
Some have, but no one has reported that we had a gun fired. So we are looking at all possibilities at this particular point in time.
Have all the stores been cleared so far?
The mall is empty at this time.
The mall is empty, but I understand that store owners are told to hand over their keys to So are you going through the process right now?
I'm not sure what you got in that regard.
There's reports that there was an argument prior to.
That's all that I have to share at this particular point in time. As you can see, we are trying to get folk back to their cars. The investigation is ongoing. I'm sure that there will be another opportunity by which we'll be able to hopefully answer your questions in greater detail at a later time. At this time, there may be some questions for EMS, and they're able to provide any questions that you've got in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff Hammerstein, Wake County EMS. As Chief Tech Brown said, what we transported, 8 people we have transported, all seem to be injuries from the chaos that ensued after whatever exact event took place. We don't find anything to be life-threatening, so we're pretty encouraged about that. It's a matter of getting people taken care of and injuries treated, but we don't expect any life-threatening problems at this time. The other issue that we're dealing with, of course, with the hot day as we have people out here waiting for instructions, is just simply the heat and people to get ill with that. We've got a lot of setup with that to keep people cool, keep people sheltered from the hot conditions out here, so that doesn't get any more severe. Injuries to first responders?
I mean, because it's hot out of
Right, understood. No, there haven't. We've all been safe, thank goodness. And an elaborate part of our response mechanism includes preparing for contingencies like that. So, we got to keep ourselves taken care of, too.
When you got the call to come out here, I mean, what were your thoughts right now?
Quite frankly, it can be an emotional thing, but at the same time, we do train for this contingency. We are prepared for, number one, massive events, and number two, events that involve active shooters. We work very hard with the police departments and the fire departments to be prepared and trained for that. The good thing for us is that you go into very much a business mind frame. You're thinking about objectives and what you have to take care of and what your tactical approach is to taking care of people, and less about the emotional side of what's happening at our own place here in town.
What were the nature of some of the injuries that people were transported?
Mostly having to do with maybe a fall or leg and limb injuries, that kind of thing. Nothing, again, that appears to be life-threatening or a penetrating injury of any sort.
So as people were evacuating, they may have been pushed or...
That appears to be the case. Certainly we don't know for sure, but that seems to be the type of thing we were dealing with.
Heat exhaustion?
That came a little bit later on as people are out and evacuated through the middle of the afternoon. It was a little bit more severe, so people were more susceptible to that then. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Listening to a press conference from Police Chief Cassandra Deck-Brown of the Raleigh Police and EMS workers after a report came in earlier this afternoon of shots fired at Crabtree Valley Mall. Now, what police are saying right now is that there is no confirmation that any shots were actually fired, though they did receive reports to that effect. Right now, they tell us that no one is in custody. The investigation is underway, and the mall right now is empty. After those calls about possible shots coming in, police had surrounded the mall. They had to clear the mall one by one. They went through all the stores. They got everyone who was inside the mall out of the mall. What they have not found is anyone with any type of a gunshot wound. They say at this point they have also not taken anyone into custody or found any type of a suspect, again, at this point. 8 people, however, were taken to local hospitals. We're told all of those people who ranged in age from age 10 to age 70 had sustained injuries when they were trying to get out of the mall. There was a chaos, there was panic, people were running, so some fall injuries, some injuries to limbs. None of those are life-threatening. Let's go ahead and get out live to Amy Cutler, who is at the mall. Amy, what are you seeing and hearing out there?
They're coming to me. Stand by. Well, Maggie, this remains a very active scene. Raleigh Police, along with the Sheriff's Office, SBI, and a number of other agencies are out here. I want to give you a live look at Crabtree Valley Mall. You can see several ambulances are out here along with command centers. Now, authorities have been out here all afternoon long following a report of shots fired at the mall. The call coming in around 2:30. Authorities responding in force, evacuating the mall. This is a busy Saturday afternoon. Thousands of people were inside at the time. I spoke with one young man who said he heard at least one gunshot ring out. People started running. It became chaotic. Security later told us the mall was on lockdown. and that it would be for several hours. At this point, police say they are still trying to determine what may have led up to this call of shots fired. Again, you heard from the chief saying that she could not substantiate that call for shots fired. But take a listen to some shoppers describing the chaotic scene.
My friends and I were in the dressing room trying on some dresses, and one of the employees came running in and was like, "Get out, there's a shooter." And so here we are.
All of a sudden I hear the floor start shaking and I hear people screaming, and so the people working there told us, like, rushed us to the back of the store.
No arrests have been made. Again, they are continuing to go through the mall. They're continuing to investigate. I also want to mention traffic here on Glenwood as well as Creedmoor. It remains closed off. It's kind of a traffic nightmare. If you are headed to the area, you certainly want to avoid that exit off of the Beltline and this section of Glenwood. We're going to continue to be out here. I also spoke with a woman whose teenage son was in the mall during that chaotic scene. You will hear from her a little bit later in the newscast. For now, I'm live in Raleigh. I'm Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina.
Moments after that call went out to police, several of our employees were on the scene. Here's some video from the back parking deck near the Macy's and Blue Ridge Road. You can see a very active scene there. Now, we spoke with one employee who heard the chaos as it all unfolded.
We were standing there demonstrating a Bluetooth speaker, and we heard the loudest noise I've ever heard in there. It thought someone broke into one of the other glass kiosks. So we got down and watched for a minute to peek. Everyone started running and stampeding. So we got as many children and their parents as we could. My coworker grabbed my bag for me and we ran out here. I was talking to the cops. We started directing people. We set up this barricade here to keep people off the sidewalk and away.
Continues tonight with CBS North Carolina's Lauren Haviland, who spoke with one family who was inside the mall when it was placed on lockdown. She joins us live. Lauren.
Yes, that family that I spoke to is just one of still hundreds that remain over across the street from Crabtree Valley Mall. They're still stranded here because this is still a very active crime scene. They can't get to their car. All these emotions that they're talking about is a lot of stress simply because of all the events that have unfolded here at Crabtree Valley Mall. And of course, this heat is not helping anything. Not everyone that I did speak to today, including that one family, said they didn't hear those actual shots being fired, but they said they saw people running, so they decided to start running. They said it was pure panic inside the mall. People were forced into stores. This one family that I did speak to, they were inside a faith-based family store, and they believe God was telling them to go there. They said they were doing one thing in particular that they said helped them stay calm.
We were visibly shaken. I mean, we were trembling. We were shaking. But the first thing we did was we prayed, and I reminded the kids of which store we were in the mall. And I don't know if you know the store, Altered State, but it is a faith-based store, and we were surrounded by Bible verses on shirts and coffee mugs. And so I reminded them of all the stores we could have been in the mall, which store that we were in, and that we were going to be okay.
Now, off in the distance, you can see several of tens of people walking back onto the Crabtree Valley grounds. We're assuming that's just one of many groups that police have allowed to get back to their car. They're doing this in groups. They've also gotten Go Raleigh buses, thanks to the city, to allow people to sit in there because of the air conditioning. They're also bringing water out here. But again, like Amy mentioned earlier, Glenwood is shut down for now. Police not saying when any of this will reopen. Live in Raleigh, Lauren Haviland, CBS North Carolina.
And we're going to go ahead and take a live look now at Blue Ridge Road and Glenwood Avenue. This road has been shut down for several hours. You don't see many cars out there right now. The NCDOT does tell CBS North Carolina, though, that Glenwood is expected to be completely reopened about 7 o'clock tonight. And we'll go ahead and head back out to Crabtree Mall for an update a little bit later in our newscast. We'll also have our full coverage online, including more from witnesses and photos from the scene. Just head to WNCN.com and be sure to follow our crews as well on social media. We'll be right back.